Okay. The hare was confident that she would find a friend to help for all the following reasons except. Okay, so how did she know? Oh, sorry, how did the hare feel that she was confident to find a friend? Okay, a hare was very popular with the. One day she heard the hounds approaching, hoped to escape. Then, with the help of her many friends, what are friends for? She asked, if not to help out in time of need. Furthermore, most of her friends were big and brave. Um, so, what we can gather so far is she knew she was popular. She assumed friends were there to help. Most of her friends were big and strong. Um, Now, the wide range of friends and promised help whenever she needed. Well, if we quickly scan through, we can see that she has a bull friend, a goat friend, a ram, all that kind of stuff. So she does have a wide range of friends. So just from a quick scan, we can select D as the answer. Now, suitable moral for this story would be, um, now, to do that, we'll probably have to have a look at the beginning and the end a little bit. So she needed to escape. She went to look for her friends. Um, so if I'm looking at the end, the hare then applied as a last hope. So it looks like nobody can help her. And if I scan, we see a lot of things like, I'm very sorry, or he declined. And then the hounds were quite near, so the hare had to take to her heels. Luckily, she escaped. So it seems that this one is saying that in a time of crisis, because she needed to escape from the hounds, you discover who your true friends are. Um, Never rely on your friends in a time of crisis is not a very good moral, so we wouldn't say that's the moral. Um, Popularity does not mean friendship is also relevant, but because it doesn't take into account the time of crisis, it's not quite as accurate. Friendship does not exist among animals would also be a very weird moral. So the best moral for this story, considering she was in a time of crisis and that no one helped her, is in a time of crisis you discover who your true friends are. Now my battery's running out, so I'm going to have to pause this and continue in a minute. Okay, so the one we'll look at next is questions 28 to 32. The first one says, this is part of a science fiction story. The most important clue to this would be, there's a cylinder in a hole on the common. Now, what you've got to ask yourself here, a bit of common sense. A cylinder's sci-fi? Something unscrewing the cylinder from within? The sense of terror and apprehension in the crowd? The emergence of a Martian? A Martian's an alien, by the way. The author's feelings of disgust and dread. So, out of all these answers, which one indicates it's science fiction? Yes, the alien. So we select the option D. Question 29. The people in the crowd were first elbowing and jostling one another because why? Um, so here we want to look for the quote elbowing and jostling. Where is it? Here we go. Got it. Elbowing and jostling. Keep back, a boy came running out towards me. It's moving, he said to me as he passed. It's screwing and screwing out. I don't like it. I'm going home, I am. I went on to the crowd. There were really, I should think, 200 or 300 people elbowing and jostling one another, the one or two ladies there being by no means the least active. Um, I elbowed my way through. Now, if he needed to elbow his way through, that means that everyone's crowding around and they're elbowing each other to get closer, not to get further away. So they were retreating in fear is wrong. People trying to push each other into the pit is wrong. They are excited and curious to see what's in the pit, yes. A few had lost their tempers, no. There were no police present to control them, no. They're curious to see what's in this pit. The reason why we know they're curious as well is because of comments like, he's fallen in the pit, or it's moving, or, comments like that. So there's something exciting going on. That's why they're all crowding around. Again, with this sort of question, you want to use a bit of common sense about crowd behavior as well. The women in the crowd were, now this was something that we just read, so it should have come on straight from the other question. What we read was 200 or 300 people elbowing and jostling one another, the one or two ladies there being by no means the least active. So, the women in the crowd were just as aggressive as the men. Not passive, where did it go? Not passive, not reluctant to push forward, not more aggressive, because it said by no means less, do you know what I mean? So just as aggressive, equally as aggressive. The mood of the crowd altered suddenly when? What happened? So let's try and find when the mood of the crowd altered. Let's look for the word mood. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to scan really fast to look for this. And not finding it very quickly. So, another way to approach this question is instead look for the answers. Okay, did the mood of the crowd alter when the cylinder opened, when a bear emerged? Now look, we already know it's a Martian, so we can cross out B. A pair of eyes were detected, or tentacles appeared, or the creature opened its mouth. So let's try and look for these points and see if the mood altered then. Okay, screwed out from within. Doesn't seem to be any mood altering there. Okay, now then we've got these eyes. There any moods here? No. Then something resembling a little grey snake about the thickness of a walking stick coiled up and wriggled in the air. A chill came over me. Loud shriek from the woman behind. So it seems, here we go. This is the mood changing right here. Other tentacles were now projecting. I saw astonishment giving place to horror. So the mood was changing from astonishment to horror, and it was because of the tentacles. So that one was a bit trickier to find. And the answer is D, 31D. Now, the one causing the writer's disgust and dread was, so we want to look for disgust and dread or synonyms. And I noticed it earlier here, disgust and dread. So what was causing the disgust and dread? There was something fungoid in the oily brown skin, something in the clumsy deliberation of the tedious movements unspeakably nasty. Even at this first encounter, this first glimpse, I was overcome with disgust and dread. So maybe it was the fungoid oily brown skin. And it says here, if I ever find it again, the oily fungoid skin, option C. Let me just check if that's right. 32. No, it's actually the huge, intensely staring eyes. And that's because before he mentions the eyes, he says above all. So above everything else, it's the eyes that affected him the most. Okay, tricky one. All right. Now we're going to go to fossil fuels. This is probably a topic where, because it's informative instead of creative, we can use a bit more of our common knowledge. Fossil fuels will be in demand for some time yet because we have no other options. They're plentiful and cheap. Our wealth and lifestyle at present are dependent on them. Now, straight away from our common knowledge, we can cross out A, which means we can also cross out D, because we do know that we do have other options than fossil fuels. We have solar, power, nuclear, all that kind of thing. So we need to check B and C, because if it's both of them, the answer is E, or it could be either one. Are they plentiful and cheap? Let's have a look. Okay. Cheap, abundant, and reliable. So you can use the keyword there. The next option was our wealth and lifestyle are at present dependent on them. Yeah. Fewer fossil fuels like coal and oil have underpinned our economic growth and standard of living for decades. So this one would be B and C together. And I'll just check that. 35. The answer is C. Gosh, I'm making a lot of mistakes tonight. What I did was I had a look at this one too quickly, where it said cheap, abundant, and reliable. And what it actually said there is, in the end, business will favour whatever is cheap, abundant, and reliable. It didn't actually say that fossil fuels are cheap, abundant, and reliable. But here it does explicitly say fossil fuels have underpinned our economic growth and standard of living for decades. So that's why C is the correct answer. In the writer's view, there may be many collapse ventures along the way because, let's find that. Okay, here. So let's read the bit before this. You can imagine the lobbying that will ensue from the different interest groups to attract business capital and government support so that their technology wins out. There may be many collapse ventures and lost fortunes along the way. In the end, business will favour whatever is cheap, abundant, and reliable. So, not say the closest to what we've just read is D. Let me check it. Yeah, so not all the options will be adopted, so the cheaper and more efficient will survive. Okay,